Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Housekeepers podcast. Dare I say, the cleanest hour in podcasting. I am your host, Ralph Peterson, and I am so excited to be interviewing and introducing you to Mark Patton, the CEO and the owner of Patton Building Solutions, or Patton Building Services, not Solutions.
Got it.
Services.
You're good.
I apologize.
You're good.
Down there in Morgantown, West Virginia. Right, Morgan? Are you in Morgantown?
Absolutely, I am. Morgantown's a university town, and we have about I'm not sure what the population of Morgantown is. It's a pretty cosmopolitan town. It's a little atypical of a lot of West Virginia because you got a lot of internationals and a big university community here, a big teaching hospital here, and so it's our headquarters. We're actually pretty much right on the Pennsylvania border. My house is 6 miles from Pennsylvania.
Very nice.
That's
just
to give you a little the geography.
Yeah, I've done quite a bit of work in West Virginia, quite a bit of work in Morgantown, a lot of nursing homes, senior care facilities, and CCRCs down in that area. So
you're familiar?
I'm quite familiar. It's a beautiful country down there. Did you grow up there?
Yes and no. I am from West Virginia. I was born in southern West Virginia, Beckley. And it's down kind of on the Virginia border. And my dad got a job promotion and a change when I was in the third grade. And we moved to Morgantown. So really Morgantown, I've been here since I was about 9 years old. Grew up in Morgantown, met my wife here, got married here, stayed here. Yep. Graduated
Had your
from
kids there, built your business there. Everything is Morgantown.
It really is. It's a great place, really, because of the university. We have season tickets to Mountaineer basketball, Mountaineer football. So it's a pretty fun place to live. Yeah, we enjoy it here.
So what was it? What did your dad do exactly? What did he do for work?
My dad actually grew up on a subsistence farm. So he was kind of a dirt poor kid. He was number 6 of 8 kids. And so my dad was the only one out of 8 siblings to go to college, graduate from college. And he did that after he was married and had 2 kids and had been in the war and worked 10 years in the coal mines. And then he came up to Morgantown, got his college degree on the GI Bill. And he got an ag education degree, and he worked his whole career for the Farmers Home Administration, which made kind of low-income housing, loans to rural farming communities.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was a good program. He loved it. It was one of the rare government programs that was pretty much self-sustaining. Didn't take a lot of government money to fund them. They generated their own income with the housing loans.
It sounds like he was quite the pioneer. Nowadays, the idea of getting a degree later in life is it's still hard work, but it's a lot easier in the sense that you can do it online. You can do it nights and weekends. I can't even imagine. What year did he go back and get his degree? What year did he get his degree in? What year is that?
I think he was at WVU it would have been the late 50s. It was kind of the era of Jerry West. It was a big Mountaineer basketball player here. So it was that era. So, yeah, he worked a full-time job and went to school full-time. Yep.
Wow.
So my dad had a great work ethic. Just out of view of the camera here, I've got hanging on the wall a 2-man crosscut saw, which was my dad. And my dad did everything the hard way. When everybody else had rototillers, chainsaws, and riding mowers, my dad was still using a 2-man crosscut saw. And me and my brother were on the other end of that thing, sawing wood as little kids. That probably weighed 100 pounds soaking wet. And my dad's pulling me back and forth on that 2-man crosscut saw. But he taught me a work ethic.
Yeah, no question. Holy moly, that is pretty impressive.
Yeah,
so what was it like? Did you two grow up in a big family? Like your dad's at one of 8. What about you?
No, I have a brother and a sister, and sister was a nurse. She lives in Nashville, Tennessee. My brother lives here in town. He worked his career at WVU Hospital as an administrator, but at the same time, my brother was also working in our business part-time, kind of in the background. My brother is hardwired totally different from me. I'm kind of the operations and the sales guy. My brother's more wired like the accounting type. So he did the books, the taxes. But actually, my business got started when I told my brother, this is back in 1981, hey, I'm thinking about starting a business, a cleaning business, because I worked my way through college cleaning. And so he says, oh, I'm kind of interested in that. I might be interested in working with you or helping you. So my brother is 7 years older than me, and it was basically he had come back from a military service in it was during the Vietnam era. He was a second lieutenant, a commissioned officer. He decided he didn't want to make a career of it, so he came back to Morgantown, got his MBA at WVU, and so Jim, as I'm telling about this business idea, he says, "Well, let me help you." So it essentially was the older brother, Jim, taking care of me as kid brother. And so Jim gave me, didn't loan it to me, he gave me $6,000. And I like to kid people that he also gave me a Kirby vacuum cleaner. And and we were in business. And he goes, I don't know why I bought this expensive Kirby vacuum cleaner. Maybe this was just to get you started in business. So anyway, Jim was in business with me the whole 43 years we've been in business. He's recently retired. I've bought him out, but again, it all started with the older brother, taking care of his kid brother, and so I'm eternally grateful to my older brother Jim. Yep.
That's pretty. So talk to me about. You said you cleaned. When did you first get your first job? Like, were you working right out of like 13, 14 years old? When did you get your first job?
No, I'm fooling you here. No, I actually, I got a teaching degree from WVU in 1978. I worked a couple of years as an inside salesperson, parts coordinator for a coal mining company, supply company. Didn't like it. I'd worked my way through college cleaning as a part-time job. Cleaned a church, cleaned for a guy that had a cleaning company. He had one contract. It was Rockwell International, and my buddy and I would clean there with his mother a couple hours in the evening, 5 nights a week. So I was familiar with the cleaning industry. I'd worked my way through college cleaning a church and our church, and so that's where I got the idea to start the cleaning business, and actually started it in January of 1981. So that's been, right at 40 years. Yep.
40 years. Yeah. This year's 40th anniversary. Good for you.
It is. Yeah, it is. So, yep. But the Lord's just blessed our business a little bit every year. We've grown a little bit every year. And, so that $6,000 that my brother gave me, we bought, a mop bucket and some cleaning supplies and window cleaning equipment. And then I lived on.
What was the first kind of contracts you were after?
Office
space. What were you?
After? It was office space. The word got out, told friends and family, and my sister-in-law got me a little job in a law office, and we cleaned H&R Block. I think was the first job we ever did, which was the income tax giant, and so it's just a little bit here and there. But the $6,000 I was living off of because I'd given up my other job, and so as the $6,000 started to run out, it was a great motivator to go knocking on doors, and just slowly started picking up an account here and an account there, and my niche, my forte has always been sales. I didn't realize it. I never wanted to grow up to be a salesperson, but when I reflected back on my life as a kid, all my jobs were selling, and selling this or selling that. In fact, my first job ever was as a food vendor at WVU Mountaineer Football Stadium, and I was sixth grade, and I was in the stands carrying 2 trays of Coca-Cola, going through the stands selling Coke. And even at that age, they had signed us up. And when I get my annual Social Security printout, it's got that $6, $7, $8 that they withheld as a kid selling Coke at Mountaineer Stadium. So it was, you'd never let your kid do that in this day and age. But my mom would drop me off at the stadium in the morning. This is long before cell phones, obviously. And at the end of the game, my dad's listening to the radio, and she'd Dad'd say, "Oh, the game's over. Go get Mark," and she'd drive down there to a prearranged place and pick me up. So I would hang out after the games and get autographs of football players, and yeah.
Wow.
So it was a great first job. I loved it, and so it was a good sales experience as well. So yep.
That is I think that's probably one of the greatest little sales jobs. I mean, my first job was like, delivering newspapers, and the worst part of my job was collecting the money. But
Right.
people were already subscribed. I didn't have to go knock on doors and get them to subscribe, which would have probably helped me immensely.
Of course, we would like to sell in the student section because that's where you got a lot of business, and So I remember, again, I was just a tiny little kid, and I'm passing the Coke down the line, and the people were supposed to pass their money back, and invariably, one of the students thought he was being funny. He would tease the little boy and not pay, and some girl would yell, "Pay the kid," and so, yeah. So you learn to do business, and you learn that, yeah, it was just good natured ribbing, but we had a lot of fun doing it. And yeah, I was a country boy, and most of the kids doing this were city boys, and so that was a bit of an eye opener and a bit of a cultural experience for me as well at a young age. So it was good. I managed to stay out of trouble.
Sounds like you did okay for yourself in the end. Sounds like you did just fine, right?
It was fun.
Super great.
It was fun. Yeah. So anyway, I had lots of little sales jobs like that growing up. So it's like, yeah. So yeah, God was kind of preparing me even as a kid, I think, to sell and promote and to do business. And so yeah, it was a good experience, and you build on those.
That's so interesting, and it's always interesting to me when we first having our relationship with money. Like what is the first time as kids do we start having this relationship with money? Because there are people who, and I don't know many of them, but I do know some people who have that first experience with money and they don't enjoy it. And then there's others like yourself and me, where every nickel I got forced me to, I really just wanted to get another 2 or 3 nickels. I did everything I could to sell. And sell anything.
Yeah.
I so wanted to make money. That's all I wanted to do.
Yeah, and I think you get bit by that bug as a kid. It probably sticks with you a long time. So yeah, I'd go home at the end of a football game, and I'd be soaked in Coke and sticky, but I would have a bulging pocket of quarters in my pocket. So
that's right.
So yeah, it was all good.
It's a nice trade-off.
Sure. Back in the day, you could drive down to the little convenience store. They didn't have 7-Elevens back in the day, but they had similar kinds of little stores, and you could buy I was a baseball card collector, so I would ride my bike down there, and I would spend some of my quarters on baseball cards and the bubble gum that came in them. But yep,
sure.
Good stuff.
Tops baseball cards.
Absolutely, yeah. I was at a baseball card show a few years ago, and I saw a Nolan Ryan rookie card was being sold for $1,000, and I told my wife, I think I've got that card at home somewhere. And I did. We went home and found it. It was in pretty good shape. And I think my son's got all those cards now. But yeah, that was fun.
That's super fun. I was the same way. I was that kid. All my friends, we traded baseball and football cards. And sadly, because when you're a kid, you don't know any better, because we had no value. There was no value, put on baseball cards or football cards in the 70s when I grew up.
Exactly.
And they were just used as entertainment. You collected cards because you wanted full sets. You wanted to get all your team, your favorite players.
Sure.
And so we would flip for cards. And I say that to people nowadays, and they're like, what?
What?
You would throw cards against the wall? I'm like, legit, we would huck them against the wall.
Closest guy wins, right?
And if you landed on a couple, you got a couple, right? So
exactly. Yep. Yeah, we would trade ours, and of course we're not too far from Pittsburgh, so we were Steeler fans, Pirate fans, and so I've got several of the 1960 Pirate World Series cards, and so those were fun to collect, and we would trade them. We didn't flip for them, but we traded cards. So yeah,
we flipped for them. Yeah, and you being a Steelers fan and growing up in that era, you had a great 70s, right? You had a huge football team in the 70s with the Steelers.
Yeah, the Steel Curtain, all those guys, are legends in this area. So yep.
I grew up in Boston,
Okay.
And so my whole childhood, the closest we came to anything was 1985 playing the Bears, which we got beat by a guy named William the Refrigerator Perry.
Yeah,
I
right.
still
Remember
hate
him.
that
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
So everybody's
Exactly.
like, with Belichick and Tom Brady now, or before, they're all like, oh, you guys, it must be nice to be a
Right.
Patriots fan. I'm like, listen, I grew up my whole life, we didn't win a single game. I don't know what
Yeah,
you're
right.
talking about. Like,
Yeah, 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 yeah. I hear you.
we weren't
It's
the
kind of like,
Steelers.
right. It's kind of like being a Pirate fan now. The stuff is cyclical.
It really is.
Small market teams do struggle, but yeah, I hear
Yeah,
you.
it's true. It's true. And we're struggling now back in the Patriots realm. So we're back kind of where we were prior
Yeah,
to
right.
the Brady dynasty. But
Yeah,
it's so fun. It's so fun how similar, experiences in growing up here in America really is, because I truly had a very similar upbringing as you did,
nice, nice, nice,
even
nice,
though we have
nice.
different generations and certainly different parts, you being in West Virginia, me being in the East Coast. But,
Exactly.
is filled with trying to get money as a kid and selling anything I could and trading baseball cards and
There you
rooting for the
go.
hometown team, and
Yeah, and
so fun.
unfortunately now you can't let your kids out of your sight, So
I
we used
know.
to roam all over the place. Goodness, you did when dare let your kids do what we did growing up.
I
Yeah,
know.
it's a different era in a not so good way.
Yeah, I agree. So when you first start your business, was your brother, being that he was kind of like the accounting kind, so he was kind of behind the scenes, then you were doing all the selling and operating? Is that accurate?
Yeah, accurate. He had another full-time job, and in the beginning,
Oh, wow.
he would do the bookkeeping, payroll, taxes at night at home. He wasn't
Hmm.
married at the time, and hadn't married yet, and so yeah, that's how he started out. And as the business began to grow over the years, because Jim always saw this as my business, he was just along for the ride, and we started off as 50-50 partners, and at some point he came to me and said, this is really your business. We did the books to reflect that I was a 75% owner and he was a 25% owner. And he never really said, and I never really asked, but I always thought in the back of my mind, he saw it as my business. He was big-hearted, but he also now only had 25% of the risk involved in the business as well. So there might have been a little ulterior motive there, but we won't go there. No, he was just good-hearted. And so as the business grew, Jim went to his boss at the hospital and said, hey, if I could do my job, same job, in 3 days a week and maintain my benefits, would you go for that? And they did. So they reduced.
What year was this?
This would have been late 1980s, maybe, or it was probably in the 1990s. It was several years into the business. So it was in the 1990s at some point. So anyway, his boss said, yeah. So Jim had a great work ethic, like my dad had instilled in both of us. And so he was, when he was there, he worked, if he was paid for 8 hours, he worked for 8 hours. So he was able to get his job done. And so then he started coming into my office on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then a few years later, he did a similar kind of thing and started coming into our office every day, half a day at the hospital, half a day with us. And he did that all the way up until 7-8 years ago when he retired from the hospital and started coming in here full time every day. So he had a good salary. His initial investment of $6,000 paid off. I'm in the process of buying Jim out his 25% now. We had our business valued by a CPA a couple of years ago and based our buyout on that. So as Jim was exiting, my kids were getting involved in the business. I've got 3 kids myself, Stephen, Megan, and Jennifer, and 2 of those, the baby Jennifer has been in the business 8, 9, 10 years now, and Stephen has been in the business going on 4 years. And initially, none of my kids were really too interested in the business, but as they got into the real world and, it's like, Dad's business doesn't look like such a bad option now. So, yeah. So they're both involved now. Steven's in operations. He's trying to transition out of operations into the sales business development silo. Stephen and Mary work in that silo of our business. We've got a very professional HR person, Kimberly Hill, in our HR silo. In fact, she was a 4.0 student from Penn State University. Then she got her master's degree from Fairmont State University, 4.0 student. So she's a sharp cookie, great personality, and great work ethic. We are blessed to have her on our team. And then we've got a great operations team. But Jennifer, my daughter, has done a lot of customer service work. She does a lot of administrative work, works with me out of the headquarter office. And so it's a family business. My brother-in-law manages our Southern division. I bought an existing business from a guy in my peer group over 20 years ago, back in it was right around 2000, 1999, 2000. Bought a guy out that wanted to retire that was in my peer group, and bought his business, merged it with mine, and my brother-in-law moved to Charleston, West Virginia, and manages that division of our business to this day, Steve Davis.
Wow.
So we've got a great team, a lot of good folks involved in our business. I've got one guy that runs our Northern division, Jason DeVar, that started working for me right out of high school, took a little bit of college, and Jason's just a natural born leader, super likable. People gravitate towards him. Jason's never been in the military, but you would swear he's super squared away, and he runs a tight ship, but he's super personable, and just we've promoted from within. He started as a cleaner as a kid, and now he's a division manager in our company. Love the guy to death. Good family man. Good all around guy. So he's grown with us over the years. Yeah, it was a great find. It's been a great career for him, and he makes a good living for his family now. So yeah, it's all good. Good team here.
It sounds amazing. When you first started, I'm really interested in your first contract and how you were able to, or was your first contract so big where you were able to hire staff and afford that right off, or did you have to do the cleaning?
I had to do the cleaning. Yeah. We grew really slow. I think I might have had $10,000 my first year of business, $12,000. So when you're a one-man operation, you're the sales guy, you're the janitor, you're the supervisor, I kid people, I would clean a building at night, and then I would answer the phone the next morning, and there would be a complaint on the cleaning. So I can identify with my cleaners when they clean. I'm like, I'll get right on that guy and get him corrected tonight. I would never fess up that I was the cleaner. But, But that's also an impetus to growth as well, because you're wearing all the hats. So you're not selling when you're cleaning. And
that's right. The good news is your cleaning is done at night.
Sure.
Right. So it's probably, between 5 and 10 p.m.
Exactly.
And that's the good side of that from an operator's point of view, especially when you're first starting out, is it does leave you all day to be able to try to grow your business. Right. And the downside of that, of course, is it's hard to work all night and then, be productive every day.
Yeah.
It turns into a long 12, 16-hour days, right?
Yeah. But as that $6,000 ran out that my brother gave me, I had enough business to sustain my wife and I. And let's see, Stephen was born in 1982. So I had a year or two of no children to really get the business underway and kick it off and get it going. And I had a job at the time, and I wasn't real happy in that job. It had pretty good benefits and a decent salary, but it was a perfect time to start a business. If it failed, I was out nothing but a job that I didn't really care for. And in no time flat. Seems like money went a lot further back then than it does today.
Well,
but
it seemed like it did actually.
You're absolutely right. Yeah. So it didn't take a lot to live on back then, but it was all good. It was all good.
I'd love to know, what was the business what was the job that you had that you didn't like? What was it? What were you doing?
I was a parts coordinator for a coal mining supply company, National Mine Service, and so it was a fairly stressful job when a coal mine machine broke down. They wanted a replacement part pronto because every minute, every hour it was down, they were losing money. I remember shipping a part to from Morgantown to Princeton, West Virginia in a taxi cab once. It was the quickest way to get it there. It was expensive, but they wanted it right now. And so, yeah, no FedEx or UPS back in the day. Popped it, called a taxi company, and they delivered the part for us. Got the monitor running again, and they were back in business.
You know, what's I don't know if it's interesting or telling, but today that one of the number one recruiting challenges is in transportation. Everybody in transportation is hiring. Everybody needs people to drive something from here to over there, and they need it there yesterday. So.
Yeah, absolutely. We thought about a courier service at one time as well. We had an operation Morgantown and Charleston, and we figured there were a lot of businesses, law offices, and so forth that were probably had offices in those locations, and we were making the trip back and forth all the time anyway. It's like we should probably call around and see if they, as we're making that trip, if they needed us to take anything. And it was an idea. I'm an idea guy. I'm a visionary. I'm not really a nuts and bolts operation guy. So I come up with the ideas and then count on other people to make them work.
Yeah, I like it. I like that. I think that's it's kind of part and parcel to how successful you are, is that you're constantly looking at everything in a lens of how can we do this a little better? How can we do a little different? Is there more opportunity here?
Right.
Clearly.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And yeah, we're one of your superpowers.
We're currently working through the Traction book, if you're familiar with that at all. Gino Wickham, I think, is the author of that book, and we just hired an implementer from Pittsburgh. Michael Halperin's coming down, and we're gonna, he's an EOS implementer, and so anyway, we're trying to make our business and our systems look like one company. Even after 20 years, our Southern Division looks a little different from our Northern Division and our Pennsylvania Division, and I'm not a systems guy. And so my brother-in-law he's going to be our integrator, Steve, and Michael is going to help us implement the EOS system, the 90-minute meetings and or level 10 meetings, I believe that they're called. So it's all good stuff.
Yeah, so you're talking really more back end, kind of back office, kind of the way your policies and procedures is kind of operating. That's what you mean? You want to get that all more in line?
Just a lot of operating systems. For an example, we just split our Northern Division into two divisions. So now we have the Northern Division and the Pennsylvania Division. We hired a regional or a branch manager to run our Pennsylvania Division. We call it that, but it also includes Boardman, Youngstown, Ohio as well. We have a large regional bank that we service, about 120 branches, and a big chunk of those are in that Pennsylvania division in Ohio, from Warren, Ohio, all the way down to East Palestine, Ohio, Steubenville, Ohio, and that area along the river. It is a big, and that's our challenge. We're not operating in one large city like a lot of our competitors. We've got a huge geographic area, and that's just how the business developed because we're in a rural state. There's only 2 million people in the whole state of West Virginia, not a lot of buildings, and not a lot of big buildings, at least, not a lot of skyscrapers, but a lot of, so our business is really built on branch banking and medical facilities, some government facilities, we do some utilities as well. So that's our niche market. That's who we serve. So but we're spread out geographically. And you get into southern West Virginia, it's the transportation down there is a nightmare. You're going through the coal fields of West Virginia, no interstates, a lot of mountainous terrain. And Steve can spend all day visiting 6 branch banks in that part of the state. Yeah.
Yeah, which that geography challenge, I remember I worked for a commercial cleaning company, and they paid their operators based on the number of homes. I work in healthcare, so the number of homes or hospitals that you could handle on a weekly basis, because we're
Right.
basically trying to get in there every week. And if you were in a city, you could potentially make a lot more money because you could easily see 10, 12, 15
Right.
hospitals in a week because they're not far apart. If you go in the rural area at all, you get into Vermont, Maine, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, you could be 3 hours on the road before you see another nursing home,
Exactly. Yeah. And a similar geography here. Yeah, it's more of a rural versus the urban area. Yeah, we're in a peer group that we joined. I think we've been in it about 2 years now, and I just love the whole idea of the peer group. And all these business owners that are in with us, the five guys, they're all in more larger metropolitan area. Andrew's in Philadelphia. Corey and Blake are in Virginia Beach. Daryl is in Orlando, Florida, and Daniel's in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So they're in bigger areas than we service. So a little different operations, but yeah. But we get together on a monthly basis via Google Meet or Zoom, and then once or twice a year we get together and audit one another's business. It's like free consulting, and all these guys are younger. They're all my son's age. They're 35 to 40 age range, and they're go-getters. They're sharp guys, and so it's just we support each other, we build each other, we help each other, we share ideas with each other. And yeah, so they were at our place at the 1st of August and audited our business over 3 days. And yeah, the information that we got from them was just invaluable. It was super good. Of course, a lot of the stuff but it's just good to hear it from somebody else. And it gives you a little kick in the seat of the pants and motivates you to do what you need to. Yeah, know what you need to do. Yeah.
I don't think there's anything better than like mastermind groups. It's the same kind of thing, like a peer group, mastermind group, where everybody's really dedicated to the growth of everybody. So there's nice, healthy competition, but there's no secrecy, right? Everybody's very generous with their information and their time. And
absolutely. And we're not competitors. We're so far distanced geographically that we're not competitors. And we've got an agreement that we're not going to step on each other's toes. But you mentioned the mastermind group too. We also are members of Jordan Tong has a mastermind group of about 150 companies, and he's also owns a cleaning business as well in Owensboro, Kentucky. Jordan's a good young sharp guy, does a great job. And we've been to several seminars that Jordan has conducted as well, a couple in sales and a couple in operations. So we're constantly sending people down there for training. So it's a great, anybody's interested in a mastermind group, he's for sure adding people to his group daily.
Yeah, that's really good information. It's good to know. So where are you? So you said your niche is really in banking and some government. Do you? I think you mentioned you also do have some healthcare, but it's like clinical.
Probably from a dollar revenue standpoint, probably that's at the top of the leaderboard. The medical facilities. One of our best customers is the local hospital here in Morgantown, and they're growing and acquiring. And as they grow, we get a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So it trickles down, and it's been good. So we have a great partnership there. We've worked for them for a number of years, and healthcare has been really good for us. That's good. And then the branch banking, we probably work for a dozen small to mid-size banks. I don't think we do any national banks, but we do either directly or indirectly through some national, like KBS and the ABMs of the world. We do a little work for them for some banks as well as kind of a second tier as a subcontractor. Yep.
Massachusetts, I don't know if this is any bearing in your area, but you just kind of mentioned it, but in Massachusetts, that's a big part of business where the government has a program. I don't work in Massachusetts, but I kind of wish I did because I like this program.
Nice.
But they are committed to having smaller businesses be involved in government contracts. But as you can imagine, some smaller businesses simply don't have the ability or the financial wherewithal to be able to bid on such a big contract. And so they just made it mandatory that large contracts that go to large businesses, they have to subcontract pieces of that business to other companies.
Right, right.
That's a really nice way for a smaller cleaning company to be able to get their foot into the door of these larger, more lucrative contracts, especially federal contracts.
Sure. Yeah. We don't do a lot of federal work. And I think probably, Ralph, the reason for that is because a lot of that is set aside for minority-owned, women-owned businesses, small 8A enterprises. And what we have done recently, we picked up a city contract just outside of Pittsburgh in one of the suburbs of Pittsburgh. And we're doing their municipal building, their activity center, and they've got about a dozen buildings that we're now cleaning. And that was just a sales lead we got from the Blue Book, if you're familiar with that at all, where they do put a lot of most of it's local government stuff on the Blue Book, and small municipalities. This is a fairly large municipality there in Upper St. Clair, but so it's a great job for us in Western Pennsylvania. It's about $30,000 a month of revenue that we pick up, and it's a really good account.
Yeah, that's I should have said. I didn't mean federal contracts. I meant state contracts because it's state of Massachusetts. So it's
and West Virginia does a lot too. But again, a lot of that's set aside, and the other groups that seem to pick up a lot of that set aside stuff are handicap agencies. Got a couple of workshops here in our local area. I won't name them, but they're geared to getting people that have some disability to work. So a lot of that's set aside for them as well. I know the FBI plant, which is about 45 minutes from here in Bridgeport, West Virginia, it's a 800,000 square foot facility that the FBI built here in West Virginia. Thanks to Robert Byrd, our former senator, who was good, who was really good at getting us a lot of the pork barrel kinds of stuff added to his bills. So we're the beneficiaries of a lot of that stuff. But at any rate, that's a set aside contract, but it's a federal contract, and I can look out my window and look at the NIOSH building. That's probably a $2 million janitorial contract that I've got no shot at. So it's a set aside type of contract. So yep. So a lot of that's not available, but we do some stuff for local FFA airports, and some of that would be federal. So we don't do a lot of government work. It's just not our niche, but we do a little. And
what's your favorite? What's your favorite piece of business? Do you have
personally, my favorite, I like the branch banking because it's our niche. We're good at it. Most people hate it because staffing is an issue. So the Western Pennsylvania, if you would look at a map, we're all over Western Pennsylvania with this bank. And it might only take a cleaner an hour and a half, 2 hours to clean a branch. So it's a difficult job to recruit for. I used to kid people. I would tell them, my job is to recruit people to come and work in an industry that has low self-esteem attached to it, hard work, low pay, bad hours. Hey, come work for me. So those are some of the challenges built into our industry. It can be tough, but it is a great part-time job, though, and so we would look for maybe the wife wants to get out of the house at night while the husband watches the kids. He's worked at Asia, so she could go out for an hour or two at night, make a little family income, get out of the house. Or husband and wife could go in and do it together. So you could, he could do his thing, she could do her thing, and they could be in and out pretty quickly, do a good job, make a little extra family income. So it's a great moonlighting job, and that's who we target. That's who we try to pick up for those branch banks. And and if I can get 3 or 4 different banks in the same town or size business, then I can group those together and make a nice job for somebody. And then they can get their 6, 7, 8 hours in. So that's our target.
Have you had any and I know that it's happened. I was just on with a woman who has a cleaning company in Australia, and
Oh
due to
wow,
the coronavirus and the pandemic and everything, one of the things that her customers requested was if that, because we normally commercial cleaning, we normally clean after you're gone. So we're normally,
right,
bank is closed, we go in
right.
and clean. That's the time of us for cleaning. But they asked her if they could, if she would start sending people before they closed, so that an hour before they closed. So instead of starting at 5:30, they were starting at 4:30, because they wanted their customers and their employees to get the assurance that they were seeing the cleaner.
Yeah, nice.
Have you heard that at all? Have you been experiencing
Well,
that at
we
all?
we do a little bit of that. Actually, occasionally a customer, particularly banks, they don't want you in there early because they're closing up, counting, reconciling, finishing
Sure.
up at the end of the day. So they really don't want us in there till they're out of there. But there are other businesses where, yeah, and it's great because you forge a relationship. They see the cleaner. And then we have a lot of what we call day matrons or day porters that work a day shift in large facilities where
Yeah.
they can clean the restrooms multiple times a day. They can clean the lunchroom after lunch, after
All
breakfast,
the common
all the
space.
common
Yeah.
areas, exactly. So they can do a lot. And historically, our experience has been that the customers love the day porters and don't think the evening crews do anything. Very unfair to the evening crew, but they develop relationships with the day porters. They see them working, they see them cleaning, and they like them. So the you're always looking for somebody on that day shift that is a little outgoing. It's not such an introvert that they're nervous around people or don't like to be around
Mhm.
people. But we've also had a few day porters that were so outgoing that they spent all their time
Chatting,
talking,
right?
visiting, and chatting, keeping the customers' employees from working and not working themselves. So yeah. One of the things you had to guard against.
What's interesting about that is, so I was in commercial cleaning for a long time before I got into healthcare.
Gotcha.
And the big transition for me was managing remotely night staff, cleaning, commercial cleaning, Class A office buildings and all that.
Right.
And then to having full-time cleaners 7 days a week, 8 hours a day. It's a whole new thing, because in nursing homes, hospitals, senior care, it never ends. It's full-time positions. You're working alongside nursing and activities and social services and maintenance, and everybody's working together. It's a whole
Right.
new dynamic.
Gotcha.
It was a big challenge
Right.
at first. It
Yeah.
really was it would be so much easier if we could do this when nobody's here, right? But
Yeah. Right. Right.
in
Right.
in in hospitals and nursing homes, there isn't a time when nobody's there.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you're
Right?
constantly
People
working
live
around
there.
people. They live there.
They
Yeah, we
live
do.
there.
We do a few facilities like that. We do Hope and Healing is a drug and alcohol rehab facility where people are living. So it would be similar to that in that you're working around people. We're typically not doing a lot of cleaning in their living quarters unless they're in meetings during the day. It gives us an opportunity to go in and do some things. But yeah, so it takes a unique individual to do that. It's nuanced. It has different challenges, and yeah, obviously you can be more productive in the evening when the building is empty. You can clean a lot faster. You workload that differently than you would a person in the building that's occupied. Yep.
Agreed. It's
Yep.
interesting that you currently clean a drug and alcohol kind of facility, because I there's a few around where I'm at,
Hmm.
and I've tried bidding on them, or tried to go in and see if they were in, and they used the cleaning as part of the therapy. So
Oh,
the people who are
interesting.
in counseling are doing it all. Not a good
All of it?
job.
Yeah, for
You can
sure.
tell they're not doing a good job at it. But they weren't interested in talking to me about commercial cleaning because they were
Yeah,
using
maybe
it as
they.
a
Yeah,
therapy.
yeah. Well, that's free labor, so maybe that's how they
Yeah.
were saving a big bill. Yeah, because I'm often told by a lot of our customers, you are our biggest budget line item because they're buying labor, and
Hmm.
you have 7, 8, 9 full-time people in a clinic cleaning at night. You're looking at a big monthly bill. Because
Hmm.
you're paying not only that labor but all the management and associated costs with it as well. So yeah, Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Speaking of that, if we can go back just a little bit, when so you said your first year of business, you really didn't clear much more than maybe $6, $8, $10,000, and you were doing all the cleaning yourself.
Right.
What was it like to when were you able to hire a staff member, and what was that like? Like, did you get another big contract and it? Okay, finally I can get somebody on the books now, or
Right.
how was that for you?
Well, so yeah, so there's this transition. You start out as the janitor, and then you pick up another a customer or two, and most of ours were small customers. And frankly, I started out hiring friends, and then eventually I ran out of friends. And the friends did a pretty good job, were pretty reliable and pretty trustworthy guys. But when I ran out of friends and had to actually start hiring people, interviewing people, so now you're kind of like the HR person, the supervisor, the interviewer, and so there's these learning things that you go
Curves.
through. Yeah,
Right,
absolutely. The learning curves, right. Yeah. You make some bad hires. Yeah. So it's the school of hard knocks. And yeah, so once I ran out of friends and started hiring other people, got some good ones, got some bad ones, and learned and grew and became better at it. And yeah, and then eventually you become the supervisor, then you become the manager, then you become the CEO, the president of the company. And yeah, just a little bit every year we grew. I don't think there was a year we didn't grow and increase revenue. Probably in the 40 years we've been in business now. So today we're doing about $8 million of business, and we have 3 divisions in our company and about 350, 340 to 350 staff
employees.
members.
Yeah,
Yep,
that's
yep,
pretty
yep.
awesome.
Yep.
How long was it you started your business until you became completely separated from actually running the business, doing the cleaning, and you are fully able to hire that out? Was it less than 2 years? Was it more than 2?
No, it was I was way into it when I was still cleaning. Probably the coup de grace for me, the biggest change for me was probably 1989, 1990, going to my first Building Service Contractors Association International Convention. And I believe that was in Dallas, Texas. And at the time, I was like, oh, that's for the big guys. I'm just a little guy. What am I doing? But I drove up to Pittsburgh, hopped on a plane. That's when the U.S. Air was headquartered in Pittsburgh, so you could get direct flights anywhere in the country. Flew to Dallas, spent a week in Dallas, and it was the biggest eye-opener of my life. It's like, for the first time, I saw the potential of the business, and I saw what other guys were doing, and there were phenomenal businesses represented there. And I'm like, this is an awesome business. There's so much potential in it. So it was an eye opener. And that was probably 1989, 1990 when I went to Dallas for the first time, saw the potential of the industry, and it took off from there. Yeah, got lots of ideas. In fact, I would come back from those conventions overwhelmed, like I'm not doing anything right. And
Of course.
but I finally learned every convention I would come back from, I would implement 1 or 2 or 3 ideas that I learned. Yeah, we got our timekeeping system, team telephone timekeeping system, where people were clocking in and clocking out via the telephone. My wife flew out to Omaha, Nebraska, where they're headquartered, became our telephone timekeeping coordinator and payroll person. And so it was computerized, and that was just life changing. It saved us a lot of money, made us more professional, assured us that this person is in this building from this time to this time. Yeah, so it was pretty revolutionary for us. But we got all these good ideas at the BSCAI conventions. So it ended up becoming a family vacation as much as it was. Yeah, I remember the first time we went to Nashville and stayed in the Opryland Hotel. My kids were
Very
little
nice.
at the time. It was like we died and gone to heaven. That place was amazing. Loved the Opryland Hotel. They loved it. Flew out a few years later to Anaheim, California, and got tickets to the Jay Leno show, and we snuck our son in to see that show because he wasn't old enough. I forget what the age was. He had to be 16 or 18. whatever it was.
Mm.
Stephen was a year or two younger than we snuck him in, and he loved it. So yeah, we got to say Jalen Olaf. But yeah, so it was just yeah, it was transformational for us. It just it's great family time and great business time. Got lots of good friends, lots of good acquaintances, and learn tons. I mean, now that BSCAI and the ISSA do a combined convention every year, and this year it's in Las Vegas, and we're sending 2 or 3 people out to it. And my son's going.
I am one of the speakers. I'm speaking
Oh,
at
nice,
ISSA
nice, nice,
this year.
nice.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not going this year, but Steven is going, and
Well,
I'll have
tell him
him stop.
to make sure he says hello.
I will. I'll have him stop by and say hello. My son is he looks like the mountaineer. He's got a long red beard. He looks like he should be on the Duck Dynasty show. But Steven lived several years out in California when he was just out of college, and so Steven's claim to fame is he has climbed El Cap and Half Dome at Yosemite. Took him about 5 days to do it. Lived on the ledge, lived on in the tent. Yeah, so 5 days to climb Half Dome. And Stephen, yeah, when Stephen was little, we would have him at Cooper's Rock State Forest here, which has a lot of bouldering. And so when he was 3 and 4 years old, he was up there with Dad bouldering. And in hindsight, I'm like, I'm not sure that was such a good idea. We visited him in Yosemite. Well, this has been many years ago, and we were looking at people climbing the face of Half Dome, and they just look like a pencil speck. You can't even tell it's a person. It's just a massive granite wall, half-mile high from top to bottom. Stephen's climbed it. Yeah, so he's a scary dude.
Yeah, no question. I'm speaking
I'm proud
on
of him.
CDC.
Yeah.
I'm speaking on CDC guidelines.
Okay.
So CDC guidelines, how it pertains to the interpretation. I'm going to tell you what it means.
Nice.
What you're trying to say.
Gotcha.
When it comes to cleaning and COVID and all that. So
okay.
yeah, so that's
very
fun.
good.
I'll
have him look you up.
Please do. I'm going to have a booth there as well for the Housekeepers podcast. So
okay, very good, very good.
You're not going to be there, but
I decided to bail out this year. We just did our audit. We went down and did one of the other cleaning companies' audit in Orlando, Florida, in the winter, and so I've done a good bit of traveling this year. And I'm like, I'm just going to sit this one out and let send some of our team members. So Steven's going along with a couple of others from our company.
Well, make sure he stops by and says hello.
I'll do that. Absolutely. Well, you'll make some good connections there too, and get some good folks lined up. There are a lot of good companies in this industry.
It's the 7th largest industry in the world. I've been doing this my whole life. I know. I'm super excited to go, and I've spoken a bunch at ISSA. So over the years.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm just shocked at some of the people. I remember a guy years ago. I think Varsity Contractor is a huge national company, and I think one of the original owners in that had a pharmacy degree, if I recall correctly. Don't quote me on that, but Jordan Tong, that runs our mastermind group, it has an engineering degree. So there's a lot of bright, right? Yeah, it's super random stuff. Yeah, but there are a ton of educated people in our industry that are really good at what they do.
No question. So what's next for you guys? What are you guys sticking where you are now? Are you guys pretty comfortable and set, or are you looking to go and to expand at all into a different area?
We over the past 3 or 4 years, we've been building the internal infrastructure to facilitate our growth strategy plan. We're wanting to add about $1 million of business a year. We think that's doable. So we've got 3 divisions within our company. We have currently 6 offices: Boardman, Ohio, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Wheeling, West Virginia, our headquarters here in Morgantown. And then we have an office in Charleston, West Virginia, Beckley, West Virginia, and Parkersburg, West Virginia. So I guess that's 7. And so we've got the infrastructure, the offices in place, the branch managers in place, and now we're promoting from supervisor to like a branch manager of those office facilities. So we've got the people in place, we've got the infrastructure in place, and so we've been spending money to build that infrastructure. now the sales team, Stephen and Mary, are hitting the ground hard here and getting us lots of. We've got about $195,000 of bids out right now, monthly bids.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so historically we've been able to bring in about half, 40 to 50% of our bids are usually converted into. So that would hit our $1 million right there. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
if we
nice
can reel some of that in, exactly.
That's
Yeah.
nice
So the
conversion.
infrastructure's in place. We've got to reel the business into some of those areas now, and yeah, so we're doing good. We recently hired Jeff Kiefer, who's been involved in this industry for many years, to run our Pittsburgh and Boardman, Ohio offices, and it's our Pennsylvania division. And Jeff's doing a fantastic job as well. So, man, I'm just blessed. I've often said we should. I want to start, and I've talked with Kimberly a little bit about this, of having a Patton Hall of Fame of former employees, and just put their picture up. And yeah,
I love everything about this.
Yeah, I love the whole idea too, because I mean, when I was young, a couple of my managers were much older than me, and they were more like mom and dad and mentors to me. I was the owner, but I was like a sponge learning from them. Bob Cunningham was one of those guys, and he had retired from the mining industry. His company put in mining shafts. They would dig and put in shafts down to the mine. And so Bob was a man's man. He was like, but he was a big, lovable teddy bear. Good Christian man, loved the guy to death. He just was good as gold. Loved him. And Bob would be the first guy in my Hall of Fame. Even though he retired, he worked for me probably 10, 15 years into retirement. And like I said, he was like a dad or a granddad to me. Loved the guy. Loved the guy.
I'm on board. I think this is a great idea. You know, a lot of times we create something like this. We're always trying to do like, what are you going to name the award after? Right. So you have the Patton Hall of Fame, but then there's also that award ceremony, that thing that could be in his name, in his honor. So imagine going forward, you know, the first one's him, and then going forward, this is the criteria to earn the Bob award, right?
Well, exactly, because otherwise it just is very subjective, and so if there's some criteria to achieve it, and you know, you've worked here so long, exemplary, kind of guy, but
in this way,
exactly. Probably now, because Bob has come and gone, and I'm not even sure I could get a picture of him to hang on the wall. Probably a son or a grandson is still out there that I could find, but it would take a little legwork, but we got a bunch of people like that, and we got a bunch of all-stars working for us now. This is not a one-man team.
Of course not. I love how genuine you are about it. I love how you're thinking about it, and how you and the reason why you want to do it. And I also love that it's such a great PR move. And I know you weren't thinking about it like that.
No, not at all. Right.
But it is it's important. You know what's challenging is, you know what, you go to a cash register nowadays and they're like, hey, do you want to round up for St. Jude's? And here's the thing. I would love to round up for St. Jude's, but nobody knows I'm doing it. And if I'm giving money, I want credit.
Right.
I don't want to give anything away for free. If I give a reduction in a price of a bid, I want them to know I'm giving them a reduction. I feel like I need to, I got to earn my give, or I need to get credit for the give.
Sure.
And this is just you're such a great-hearted man. You got a great-hearted company, and you're thinking about doing something for the right reasons.
Right.
I say we also get credit. I say everybody also knows about it, because people want to do business with people that they like and that they trust.
Absolutely.
And that are good-hearted. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So, anytime you can promote that. Yeah. So, I mean, everything I do is not self-serving, but you do need to pat yourself on the back occasionally. And my son was telling me about our manager, Jason, that I was telling you about the other day. A customer called and said the doctor thinks they knocked their cell phone into the trash can. So Jason drives out that night, gets into the dumpster, and is going through every bag of garbage in that trash can. And I told Stephen, I'm like, you've got to tell the customer, you can't let that go unmentioned. That's right. One of those, that's one of our core values is going the extra mile. And I'm like, Jason gets the going the extra mile award for this month. It was above and beyond the call of duty. Nobody wants to get into a dumpster and dig through trash. But Jason,
Did he
the
find the phone?
manager, he did not find the phone. I'm like, maybe we should have just called the phone and stood by there and listened. They probably thought of that, but it could have been on vibrate or whatever. No, we did not find the phone. So no pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. But it was the effort that should be affirmed and appreciated.
Yeah, 1,000,000%. And that's what I'm talking about, right? Like it's so much more satisfying when people see you doing the right thing and recognize you. You should always do the right thing because it's the right thing to do.
Right.
Whether people are looking or not, but it
Right.
just makes it sweeter when people are like, you know what? I noticed you did that. That's pretty fantastic. And that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Otherwise, nobody knows and can't appreciate it. So, yeah.
And nowadays, with the staffing shortages that we're having on our end, I imagine you're feeling a little bit of the same burn as we are.
Oh, absolutely. It's a nightmare.
Anything
it's gotten better. It's gotten a little better here, but it's still a challenge.
Yeah. Anything that we can do to recognize our employees, anything we can do to highlight all the great work they're doing, anything we can do is worth it.
Absolutely.
Right.
Well, it's a thankless business. And that's what I tell our managers, supervisors. If you don't affirm our employees, our rank and file, the people out there doing it every night that really make your paycheck, nobody hardly ever calls in and says, great job. They call in when you missed a trash can. So you got to catch them doing something good. You got, for every criticism, they need 3 or 4 attaboys and good job. And people just want to be recognized for doing their job. And so I don't get out at night too often anymore, but when I do, I'm always like, I need to do this more. It always feels good. It's always appreciated. And people like to see the boss. Yep.
Agreed. I agree. Thank you so much for coming on and
spending
some time with me today. I really appreciate it. And I was very excited just to hear their story and to hear where you came from. And you got a great story. And I love the story of your dad and going to college while working full time in the 1950s.
Yep.
You just don't hear those kinds of stories enough. It really shows the type of man he was, and clearly the type of family man he was, and the family he raised. And it's just all great. It's just all great. I'm so impressed.
Yep.
How do people find you if somebody's looking for work and they're in the West Virginia area or Pennsylvania, or Ohio? I mean, you're all over the place. How do they get a hold of you?
Yeah, well, pattonbuildingservices.com. We have the online application there. We have a pretty good presence on LinkedIn. Our HR manager runs lots of recruiting ads on Indeed. Occasionally, I'm still old school, and every once in a while when they're struggling, I'm like, if you want to get Mary or Wanda, you got to run an ad in the newspaper, because they're not going online to look for a job. They're still looking in the help wanted ads in the newspaper. So occasionally we'll do that. My best help wanted ad ever was Mary retired. Do you want Mary's job? If you would like to have Mary's job, and we got like 20 60-year-old women applying for the position. So we did an in run. We didn't want to say we wanted a mature woman. We just used a name of traditionally was an older woman, and so that was always my little. Told our HR, I know we can't ask for a man, we can't ask for a woman, but we can say, do you want her to take Mary's job? And that one worked pretty well for us. So,
like anything to stand out, right?
Anything to stand out. Yeah,
anything
exactly.
to stand out is the best way to go about it. So you said pattonbuildingservices.com, is that right?
That's correct. Yep.
Patton Building. I'll put the website in the show notes as well, and
okay, good deal.
And as well as the LinkedIn profile to Patton Building Services too, because you guys are pretty active on LinkedIn, which is a lot of fun. And it's how we connected.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think Evelyn. I can't remember Evelyn's as a trainer. Maybe she's in Texas, and I was watching her. video, her interview
Mm-hmm.
with you. She's in the mastermind group, and I've met Evelyn in Owensboro, Kentucky, a time or two. And so
She's
anyway,
really
I saw
great.
her, and I think I made a comment on her podcast.
Yeah.
It was good. It was good to hear her story, and then you reached out to me as a result of
Yeah,
that.
she has
Yep.
a great story too.
Yep.
She's from Guatemala, and so it's so diverse. This industry is so diverse, and
Oh,
and
absolutely. Yep.
it's so big, and there's so much opportunity. If you're interested in owning your own business and running your own operation and earning a lot of money and doing really great things for great people, consider the cleaning business.
Absolutely. Yep.
Cleaning business.
Yep.
Because it's not easy, but it is a great industry. It is
yeah,
really
because you're managing, you're trying to get a job done through other people. Yep. So yep. It's a challenge, but it's good. But it's also what makes it rewarding.
Agreed. Well, thank you so much for being on. Really appreciate all your time. Thank you. That's it for us here at the Housekeepers Podcast. If you like today's show, please make sure that you're sharing it and subscribing, and writing a review, and telling everybody, hey, you got to listen to the Housekeepers Podcast. We really appreciate all of your help. That's it for Mark, Patton, and myself, Ralph Peterson. We